I said if I was in quarantine in high school, I would have been having a blast.
Yeah.
I would have been out.
I know.
You would have found me
in the woods.
Them kids are on their games nonstop.
They're already quarantined.
Right, but the thing is, like, and it's crazy because they're more social than ever because they're talking to like 5 or 6 different kids, you know, talking trash, playing, you know, because
Don't you feel like an old person trying to like say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing it," you know?
Yeah, well,
like,
you know, now like they can go to college, they can go
Everything
get
online.
scholarships on gaming.
Yeah.
I was just telling him how the Air Force was going to pay me to go to this tournament in Vegas to do this fighting game, but I just had to wait for my application to go through. And I could, I'm not that good. I know I'm not, but
You mean to play a game?
Yeah. So
Oh,
if I was to win, I think the grand prize was $54,000.
I mean, that guy won millions.
We got to switch sports, Fred.
Oh, I'm like, I'm about ready to start running clocks.
I don't think that there's that much prize money in the IFBB.
Well, you know,
Let's get the intro.
Definitely not for women.
Let's get the intro.
Let's talk about that.
Intro. I'm leaving this in, but let's get the intro. So
Okay.
All right, welcome to another episode of Big Talk, where we encourage you to believe in yourself, inspire others, and continue to grow both mentally and physically on a daily basis. So we are in early June. It's starting to get hot outside, and we're in Delaware. We're pretty much out of quarantine, so I'm getting my first haircut in a long time, thank God.
you know, I just thought about randomly.
I don't know where to look again because I'm all over.
Exactly. That's what I do. No, just look. How about we have a camera?
Oh, okay.
There's no camera to look at.
Are we in the camera?
But with everything going on, not to get serious, but reminds me of Do the Right Thing.
Oh gosh, you went back.
Oh wow!
I love that.
How it's getting hot.
Yeah,
Yes.
The
Temperature.
yeah. We're
Straight from
sneakers.
outside.
They already beat.
We got a boom box in here.
Fight the power.
Yeah, man. I mean, and so we got my co-host here, Rashaad Scott.
Yep.
That's your name,
Yes.
Scott.
You actually got it right.
The man with the red shoes, no matter what he's wearing. And we got.
They really can't see him today.
And I guarantee you guys, he has them on. And then we got
Put 'em
my
up.
partner in crime, my brother from another mother.
I'm looking
Paul
at like all the
Norris.
cameras.
And then we got IFBB Pro Jessica Perez -BB in the house, and she is gonna help us bring this podcast to life. So, how are you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you
I
got?
feel good. I feel great. I'm here training with you and the rest of your team, and which is different for me because I'm always training by myself.
Mhm.
And you know, I came out in February to train with you guys, and I was just like dying to get back. It's a whole other level.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
grateful
so I
that you
feel
love
good.
it. We so Jess has been training with me off and on since 2000 what?
When did we
15.
start?
15, right? 14 or 15.
14 or 15.
Yeah.
Yep, you took me to my first NPC show.
Right. So she did nationals her first year out the gate and got top 5, and then she fired me, and so
Now you can tell your story.
and then we came back this year,
Gosh.
and within 2 shows turned pro. So
Crushed it.
she absolutely crushed it. Dead center of both shows. Really wasn't even that much of a prejudging. She came out and just smashed everybody, so it was amazing. She turned around and the game was
Open,
over.
Masters.
So
yeah.
it was a really great experience for us. Team Universe, right? Team Universe 2019. So very proud coach here, right here, and then her effort is amazing. And then she's also an amazing entrepreneur, helping and coaching other entrepreneurs to be their best selves. So we're thankful to have you here on the show.
Happy to be here.
So tell us how wonderful you are.
Do you want me to tell about that story?
Tell a story. Yeah, whatever you want to tell.
So I was just about to tell Paul right before we started airing that I had found Fred through a mutual friend.
Judd, right?
Right, through Judd. Because I had set this goal. I had owned a CrossFit gym at the time down in Rehoboth. And I wanted like a new goal. I needed a challenge. I was putting all my effort into like growing the business and kind of put myself on the side, my fitness stuff. So I didn't even know. Like I wasn't even in the world of bodybuilding. It was like not on my radar. Like the thought of me being on a stage in a bikini, I was like, what? That's not me. Mm-hmm. But my coaches at my gym, they were telling me you'd be great for the bikini category. So I found somebody online and just started training. I did like some OCB show, didn't know anything about anything, and then I saw Judd training with you, and you were local. So I messaged Judd put us in touch, and you and I got on the phone. I'll never forget what you said, because I have this OCB show coming up where you said two things. One of them made me laugh, but I said, well, what's the difference? Because you said, I want to get you in an NPC show. I said, well, what's the difference in what I'm doing now? And you just chuckled, and you were like, difference between a high school gymnasium and whatever else. And I was like, oh, you hired. Because my mindset was like that too. Like when he said it like that, I was like, okay, he's not playing, he's serious. And then the other thing that really resonated with me was, and a lot of this stuff when I think back on it, like that's how I connect the dots and always knew that we would work well together. But you said, I had the OCB show already scheduled. And I said, well, since I'm going to train with you and do the NPC show, I won't do that one. And you said, no. You always finish what you start. So you still sent me out there to do that one. Just little nuggets like that, you know what I mean, in terms of mindset, because I coach all around mindset. So anyway, fast forward, trained with Fred, qualified for nationals right away at the Jay Cutler. I was second place open, first place masters. We went to Masters Nationals. I got top 5. We were just talking about that, how I came in to shred it. And Fred was like, all right, that's great. We're going to go to the next one. And I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm taking off. I was living overseas then, so I was traveling a lot. I was just kind of worn down. But I also had this mindset like a couple months later where I was like, you know what? I'll go and do nationals by myself. I don't need a coach. I'll just do what Fred trained me to do, right? I'm certified, I'm this, I'm that, I got my experience, and I don't, something like, it's like a moment where I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? But I'm glad I went through that, because it's something that I now talk to like my clients about and stuff. That mindset of like when you think you got it, when you can just do it on your own. It's not the same thing. It's not, right? Like you're all gifted in this, but you're not going to train yourself to go, exactly. So yeah, that was a mess. I went to nationals. I can't even look at those pictures.
It's hard to be objective to yourself.
Oh,
especially when you're going through pain and discomfort.
Yes.
it was
So to stand back,
crap.
you need somebody to, look at you and say, okay.
Right. It's those last 2 weeks too. I just went south.
Yeah.
I was just
'Cause
so.
you'll be either too hard on yourself, like, oh, I'm just gonna,
I was too
I'm gonna
easy on
suffer. I
myself.
want to suffer so much, and you don't really need to suffer at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're like, we can justify anything. Yeah, well, I'm feeling a little low in energy. I should have a cup of white rice. I should have that, and you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to be able to. That's why we have coaches and
That's
mentors.
right.
And
and
all
you
that
don't
stuff.
know what you don't know. You're not seeing,
I've tried it
certain
before.
things. And I had this in my head, like, oh, they told me to come in softer, so I'll just.
That's beautiful.
I came in softer everywhere.
I've done that before.
Oh, it was a mess.
Cheat meals turned into cheat days. I just do 45 minutes extra cardio. It'll work out.
Yeah.
But you have to go through that to really appreciate.
You do.
A
You need
coach.
like that humble pie,
You
you
do.
know? And so I took off after that 3.5 years. I did a show while I was over in the DR, like a small little local show there with a friend of mine that was training me. But I took off 3.5 years after that. And then I kept saying stuff to my husband about this story. And he was like, why don't you just call Fred? You need to call him and tell him. So I called with the intention to just be like, Fred, I need to call myself out. I can't get over this. The fact that I quit on you, I quit on us, and I just gave him this story. And he was like, okay, so when you ready to get back on stage? I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I called for. Before you know it, but you know what? Fred always believed in me more than I did in terms of this sport.
Yeah, I mean, I always saw her potential, one, because her swag is on a different level. Like, a lot of times girls can look good, a lot of times they have parts, but Jessica just has the entire package, right? She's gonna present, and your eyes are gonna be drawn to her. She's gonna walk in a room, your eyes are gonna be drawn to her. And I mean, obviously she's a beautiful woman, but it has nothing to do with it. It's just the way she carries herself. And so whether professional setting or athletic setting, she just stands out. And then you put in the fact that she's a smaller individual, but she's so dense muscular. Like we put on so much muscle, yet she still looks incredibly feminine, right? So and when you have that combination, someone that can present it, has the muscle tissue, and then she had amazing legs from probably years of CrossFit. So she turns around and it's just like, girls don't have a chance. And you know, that's been our experience so far. So we're looking to just, you know, perfect one little piece so that, you know, her abs look the way they normally do a week out on stage, even when we draft. But, you know, it's been a blessing to train her. And then in terms of mindset and for business, she helps me with, you know, giving me information, giving me confidence, because like I believe in her on stage, she believes in me as an entrepreneur. And that's been a really cool relationship, because over quarantine I was able to do a little webinar for her, and that gave me the confidence to believe that I could talk to anybody. Yeah. Because there was professionals on the webinar that got a lot of, and the feedback was really positive.
Yeah,
right?
They loved you.
Right. So, you know, those opportunities, you know, it's like experience brings about more confidence, right?
Yes.
And so it's been a very, very good relationship between us, and I'm looking forward to the next level in the IFBB, doing pro shows, getting her to Olympia stage, and then I'm hoping that we can do some things business wise as well. So it's good. But what else is going on? You know, like she talked about the training together, and training you know, with a trainer, and how it's a different push. And you know, you and I trained together for a long time. Shad keeps skipping that one when he says, you know, he ain't trying to do it like that. But
no, that ain't it.
No, I mean, just to go back to the webinars real quick, and then we'll go back.
Yeah.
It's why this lifestyle and what we do is, you know, the qualities and the things that we focus and really put our energies into is universal. It could be anything. It could be, like I said before, business or your family or whatever it may be. To be able to have that discipline of not eating garbage and eating the same thing 8 times a day can translate into business, where you might be making phone calls. So I got to make 25 phone calls and not making 23.
That's it right there. Because here's the thing, like no matter how tired you are, like no matter what's going on, when you're in prep, you're focused, and the goal, it's the highest priority. It's like you'll work your day, you do your morning cardio no matter what time you got to get up. I mean, there's times when at 4 o'clock in the morning I'm getting up because I got to go to one of my clients' shows.
Right.
You know, you bring all your meals. It doesn't even matter when you get to that point in the diet where you're really locked in. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. You'll figure out a way to eat your food cold, jelly on the fish, all the gross stuff. You know, you will still do it. And then on top of it, you have to perform in your daily tasks being hungry all the time. You know, for that last part, you know, like, I mean, there's a comfortable period where it's just kind of like your body's, you're hungry and it's the time to eat. But to get that final piece, that look that's refined, you have to suffer a little bit. And you're sitting there and you're just like, man, God, you're hungry all the time. And if you're busy, is actually a good thing. Yeah. But, you know, you sit there and you're like, God, I'm thinking about food, I want to think about food. And it'd be so, and you know, and this is what's so cool about it. You know that all I got to do is just go get a Snickers and I'll be good.
Yep.
All this will go away. My mindset would be good. Like,
it needs it too.
You know, like Chris gives me, Chris Aceto is coaching me now, and he'll give me a cheat meal, you know, every once in a while. And like the other night, I got one, my daughter goes, "You eating?" I was like, I mean, I'm good. I'm always in a good mood. She's like, it's different when you eat. Because I am a true fat kid at heart, man. I love you.
I am too. I feel the same way.
Yeah. I appreciate it more though.
But to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, and you were saying about when you coach yourself, my first nationals, you know, 46 guys in my class. They bring out top 15. They bring out everybody. Everyone poses like, you know, 3 or 4 poses. Then they immediately cut to top 15 and you're out, right? So if you're not in that top 15, you don't get any stage time really. And I made the top 15. But when I look at those picks, I was diced. but so flat. So flat. Because I would do dumb stuff. Like, I would be late, I'd be up.
Yeah.
You don't have nobody to be accountable to.
Yes, the accountability, that's everything.
So then you eat three tablespoons of peanut butter. Shit. All right, I was doing hour cardio tomorrow. Right? And that's not good. There's no balance in that. Right? So what ends up happening is cortisol levels are raised because now you're doing too much cardio. You're not, and then the next day you're like, well, maybe I ought to cut all my carbs out because I had that last night. And then now you don't have any energy to train the way you need to train. The muscle doesn't maintain the density. Your body metabolism starts to go, oh shit, we're starving a little bit, so we need to conserve energy. That's why it's hard to train yourself. Like, some people can do it, but like me, having that accountability and it's huge. And I think, like, you know, like one of the bodybuilders I follow is Sean Ray. He always claimed he trained himself, but could he have been better if he had somebody training him? Right. You know.
Well, what you just said, like when you said, and I made the top 15, right? But then when I look at the pictures, well, it's the same thing with me. I made top 10. Most people, when I train myself, most people would be like, oh, that's great, you made top 10. Top 10? I'm not happy with top 10. Yeah. You're not happy with 15? You know what I'm saying? It's like that.
I got 9. Just saying.
But the average, it's like what we said yesterday. Once you become pro, there's a difference between being pro and professional, right? Like, the pro's just happy to get there.
Yeah.
I got there, I did it, I got my pro card.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next? Yeah. It's like always that leveling up of your mindset, which is that's why you got to be around people that are wanting that too, that are not, I don't want a coach that's going to be satisfied with, you know, I mean, okay, top 10 is good. Yeah. And we'll celebrate it for a minute.
Right.
But
well, I mean, I think it's really important to, like, you think you're doing good until you put yourself around someone who's doing a little better. Right. So how do you keep yourself from hovering in the same spot over and over? Like, because here's the thing, it's about what resonates with you. So if we're talking about the sport and you go, okay, am I having lunch with my buddies who have never been to Olympia, or am I having lunch with my buddies that have been to Olympia and had success at Olympia? Because these are two different conversations.
Absolutely.
The conversation over here has me leaving the table wanting to go crush the gym. The conversation with the buddies that haven't done it before go, man, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll get there. I'll get to the gym.
Yeah, you know, I get there. I'm already doing good, you know? And the thing is, like for me, like, I had this overwhelming need to win a pro show. And the reason why is because I know so many bodybuilders who I looked up to had never done it, right? So I was like, I gotta win a pro show. So the monkey was lifted off my back. And then the next year I was like, I gotta win an Arnold. And so I was obsessed with whatever it took. They say I'm not hard enough, I'm becoming crazy hard. And I almost became to the point where I kind of pushed what my coach was saying aside. Ooh, okay. Because I got so obsessed with, I can do more, I can do more, I can do more, right? And sometimes more is not always better, right? I can do more. And so at that point I became uncoachable. Uncoachable, right?
Interesting.
Like, right, so you sit there and you're like, you know, I know what I need to do, I need to do more. So I'm taking his plan, but he's telling me to do 20 minutes of cardio and I'm doing 260s a day. Because I just want to be crazy shredded. Right. And he's going, I know what you're doing. Stop.
Right.
Stop.
Right. There's a reason for the plan.
Right. And if you look, and it's crazy because I was dice. When we did Baltimore, I was dice. But I was so much smaller than when I did South Africa 2 months before. Right? But I went to South Africa, top 5 of the Arnold, and I was pumped. This is going to be my year when we win another pro show. Because it was an awesome lineup. And like Dexter was first, Rolly was second. I beat Lionel Bayeki, I beat Victor, I beat John Delaware, so I beat all these people, and I'm like, yeah, because all these people have won shows.
Sure.
And oddly enough, that year, it wasn't until I said, fuck it, this is going to do what it's going to do. Took all the pressure off myself, took all the stress, and I had my best placing of the year, and a lineup that was stacked. 9 other people in that lineup had won shows within 2 years, and I'm second, a point and a half behind Justin Compton, who was on the rise. So, you know, had we not gotten sick, who knows what happened. But during that time frame, it was like, wow, I went through this obsession with wanting to be better that it was like to the point where I just negated everything I knew and just just went balls to the wall. Like, I just got to be better. I just got to be better. Training every day, never taking a break and all stuff. And I did that later, and it worked. But we fed a lot. We were eating a lot more, right? So it's just crazy. You got to have somebody in your corner that you always trust.
You got to let go. It's that fine line of like knowing yourself and you know what I mean, following your intuition, your gut, and also letting yourself be coached.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Right? That's like pro shit.
I know. Like, if someone showed me a picture yesterday, I'm like, that's great. Look the way you always look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're like, you know, it looks pretty good. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna do the same you always do. Because you're gonna be hard, but you're not gonna be full. You're gonna be hard, like shredded in certain spots, but your body's not gonna let go of the fat in other spots because you're eating too little already.
I think a lot of people do that. They'll just, you know, I'm sure it happens to you all the time. What do you eat? What do you exercise to do? Why am I going to tell you? You're not going to do it anyway.
Right.
So, to take it a step further, competitors, a lot of competitors will hire a coach, pay that coach, and Google everything or watch YouTube and do what they want to do.
Yeah. I had to have a talk with one of my friends about that.
Like, why are you wasting your money? And it's challenging. And there's a trust thing too. When you know, just like you know, either it's business or spiritual life, whatever. Is when you're like, okay, you're my coach, you're my mentor. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do.
Yeah.
Well, you've said
It's
this
a lot
before.
to hand over.
We all know a lot of things can work, but you got to work one thing, tune the rest out. That's what happens with entrepreneurs a lot too. Same thing like you're talking about in fitness and bodybuilding, is like they're trying to do everything at once, out of order, you know, like because there's podcasts here or you know, YouTube here or email that like there's something that you can get into all the time. It's like shiny object. And if you don't narrow your focus, I have when my clients sign up with me, I'm like, unsubscribe from every single email list right now, right? Because it's at least a couple months in, somebody's always like, well, do you think I should sign up for it? No, you hired me. You're going to do everything that we're doing this year. Nothing else. Let's get a result in one thing.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you sell out and go 100% or full throttle into something, even if it doesn't work, you know you can walk away.
You got data.
You can walk away saying, okay, this is why it didn't work.
Yes.
And I'm done with it. And move on to the next thing. You know, but when you're dibbling and dabbling here and there,
You don't
it's
know
like,
what's working,
you don't know
what's not.
right?
Yeah.
So,
And I think that happens to a lot of competitors earlier on in their career, is they'll start listening to one coach and then they'll walk in the gym and, let me see you. Oh, wow, you're really flat. You know, I'm really flat. What do you think I should do?
I know.
Or
You know, and then they'll start listening to that person.
online.
Yeah, they'll have 4 coaches when you're
Well, I
paying
mean,
one.
I remember
Happens all the
when I
time.
hired my coach that was not local, and he came up to me at he came up to me after the morning after the night show, and I was there. This one still in the AMBC, and he said, and I was like, I was way bigger than any competitor there, right? And he was like, man, it's like your potential's endless, but you're soft. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know. I wasn't in the mindset to hear it, but he's just like, bro, just let me train you. I was like, well, you know, he was the head judge of the Nationals. He's like, let me train you to win next year, I promise. And you know, now, you know, his name's CJ Bouchard, and he's an amazing coach. Taught me a lot. Like, he's the one you hear me say, you know, it's not you're wanting and choosing to do this sport, so don't take it out on your family.
Right.
Yeah.
He taught me that, right? So he says to me, I'm gonna send you a diet. So he sends me a diet. Obviously, you show the buddies in the gym. It's not gonna work. I'm like, shit.
Too many voices.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like doing sprints. Nobody down here was doing sprints. And they're like, you're not an athlete. What do you, I mean, now you're not doing it for football. Why are you doing that? That's dumb. Right? And then I'm in the gym and he's feeding me a little more than what they would normally do. And we're 12 weeks out and they're going, you're not going to be ready. You're still fat. I'm like, so I'm calling him. And then there was no texting back then. So I'm calling him. And I used to drive 3.5 hours every week to Connecticut to see him. And I remember he says, I just need you to just not listen to anybody.
Right.
Just trust me. He's like, look at me. He showed me his pictures of himself. He said, the national champion last year was trained by me. Like, just trust me. Just trust me. And so I did. And like 4 weeks out, then everybody's doing this. Damn, you look good. Damn, what are you doing? You know, like, and the same shit I've been doing the whole time. It's just I'm not listening. I'm listening to somebody else. So like, that's why I tell people, like, don't wait for people to believe in you. They'll become believers when you start doing.
Of course.
You know, like, people are going to jump on the bandwagon when you start showing results. And then they're going to go, I believed in you the whole time. Bullshit. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, I laughed when one of my buddies says to me, you know, the one thing I respect about you is that your boat goes this way down the river, no matter who's on it or off it. You just keep going. And a lot of people don't have that energy, that confidence in themselves, you know. And if that's all you need, like, if you believe in something, it'll happen if you believe strongly enough, because you'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Tim Grover said recently on his, this was so good, I hope I say it right, but he said something like, if you need passion and motivation, like, to keep doing your thing or to get to the next level, like, it ain't gonna work. That's entry level shit. You know what I mean? That's entry level, having passion and motivation. It's a whole other level once you're pro. Because I was on this training with him with pro athletes. He's like, don't talk to me about motivation or passion.
Yeah.
That's beginner stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's the stuff that we do that we're committed to that you're talking about on a daily basis, no matter what. That's why you got to drown out the noise of, like, the majority of people who don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have that goal. They don't have that vision. They're not going to be able to buy into your vision. They don't need to.
Right.
But because they don't have that type of vision for themselves, and that's okay. But that's why these types of communities and relationships are so important.
Right. When did it, I know when it did for me, but when did it click for you?
What specifically?
Like, when did you click and go, you know what, I can't keep doing things the way I'm doing if I'm going to get to another level? Like,
I think that time, you know, in this sport, that time when I somewhere along those lines, I realized, like, you know, when I tried to do it my way, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, so I got it then, and I really got it in business. I remember when I was running my gym, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to just have another typical CrossFit gym. Like, my standards are here. I also want to grow the business. I don't want to be an employee. Like, I had a whole different mindset than my other friends who were running CrossFit gyms. And so I hired somebody who coached fitness professionals. And within 1 year, man, I took that gym, boom, and ended up being on his stage as one of his most successful clients, ended up coaching his entrepreneurs. And then when I sold that gym, you know, at a big profit. And, like, to me, that's when it was like I realized it's not about just doing everything on your own. It was that shift from solopreneur mindset to entrepreneur mindset that I then carried into, like, this sport. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna hire a coach, you know, I'm gonna follow it, and everything else is out.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes I still need you to tell, like, Fred, do you think I'm old? Am I too old, do you think, to qualify for the Olympia? Like, so you sometimes need other people to see what you don't see, to believe in you in that sport, because he's been in the sport longer than me. He knows it in and out.
so mentorship is
Mentorship, I think,
absolutely.
is super important. Like, don't take advice from anybody who has not excelled at what you want to do.
Right. So what about you?
What in regards to?
Well, here's Rashaad came to me, and he's kind of like, you know, I can't just do this, I got to do another job. And then he was just like, immediate 360, I'm just going to do this and make it work. So when do you think it clicked for you to?
Well, I feel like, when we first started, I was still working. Like, I just got back from my military orders and worked at Discover, hated my job and everything like that. And started working with you, and I was like, I want to do this. Like I said, me and my ex were talking. I was just doing it for more so work experience, because, like, we wanted to own a gym and whatnot. So I was like, I don't know about the personal training part, but you know what, that's part of the gym life, so let me find out what it's about. So once I do this part-time and then working my other job. And then I was like, well, I really like this. And it still didn't click yet, but I knew I wanted to do it. So I just had the right direction. And saved up money, quit my job, and still told my ex at the time, it's like, if this doesn't work out, I got enough money to last for 3 months. If it doesn't work out after 3 months, then I'll get another job. And I kind of realistically was bullshitting the entire time we were together, from like April to I'll say August or something like that, because during all of that I was helping you, and you just got injured, but I was still helping you. But this is before you found out it was completely
Yeah, before I had the surgery.
So, but you were still able to spot people after a short period of time where you needed me, but it wasn't like after September. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get a few clients, and then at max I probably made like $400. I was like, I can't live off of this. I was like, all right, Fred, I'm gonna have to do this part time. I got a job, like working on microchips and stuff like that in Westchester. And then this is when it clicked for me. I went to the job first day, and it was me and this other guy. The guy ended up being in the wrong location, but me and him thought we were starting the same job. And it's all right, Rashaad, you're going to train with this guy, and then the other guy, you're going to train with this guy. Now, the guy who was in the wrong spot, he trained with a guy who pretty much did my interview for the position. And I was like, well, damn, I wish I could train with him because I knew who he is and whatnot. Like I said, found out he was the wrong building, went to another business. All right, well, instead of you, Rashaad, training him, you trained the guy, I forgot what his name was. He said, and then he told me, I'm telling you straight up, that I don't try to push you down or anything, but they don't like people progressing here and all. So I'm like, I ain't been here 5 minutes, and you already telling me this is the worst place to work? I was like, all right, well, it's good money, so I'm just going to deal with it for the time being. And then he was arguing with my manager, because that was his manager too, and then he's like, see, I tried to progress here, but they didn't want to give it to me because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I'm just trying to do my work, man. Like, why you complaining to me? So, and literally, all my job was to open up a box, take out 3 microchips, put 3 microchips in, solder it together, rinse and repeat all day. All day I was in this position. And after like an hour, I'm like, yo, how can I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And then like I said, this is when I started actually training, not just working out, because obviously I'm working with you, so I know what it's like to work out, train now. And so I was in my head, and then on my break, right before my lunch break, I said to the guy, I said, hey man, where's the bathroom at? He said, well, there's one right here next to your desk, but there's another one by the front door over there. And I was like, all right, I'll be right back. I legit got up, walked out, got my lunchbox, drove off. And it was like middle of the day, and I called Fred. I was like, yo, I don't know what we got to do to make this work, but I got to do something because I can't go back to a normal job. And ever since then, like, my ex didn't know that I quit that job for like, I think like over 6 months or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But I would get up at 6 in the morning, because that's when I had to get to my other job at 7. So I would get up 6 in the morning, go like do cardio or something before he got in the office, and then do stuff in the office, trying to figure out what I can do to like make this progress. And then from there, I just busted my ass to get where I am now. Because I was like, I can't go back. I just can't do it.
If you want something, you will make a way. You just got to make the decision, and everything else will line up. That's exactly what you did.
And I just had to go.
So many people stay in that feeling that you were in at that other job, you know?
And just complain.
And just complain.
And just complain. I complained for like a few hours, like, nope, I got to go.
That's right.
Yeah, what's Les Brown say? You know, he's like, I walked past the porch and this dog is on there just groaning and moaning. He's like, well, what's wrong with him? He's sitting on the nail. He's like, why don't he get up and move?
The rusty
like,
nail, right?
It don't hurt enough to get up and move.
Right.
It
Yes,
just hurts enough
that's
to
the
complain about
problem.
it.
Yes.
You know, so yeah,
That's good.
And you had like the story that kind of resonated with me. Like you were getting ready for. We had done shows before, and we were just missing out on getting that level of conditioning I know you're possible to get for you. And I remember saying to you something along the lines of like, just do everything. Just don't cut any corners. Do everything. And like one of the main things you did was dealing like with our supplementation, right? Like it was more consistent.
Yes.
And I mean, this is a podcast, but it is what it is. In our sport, there are some performance enhancing things going on, and sometimes that can be the part that's the most annoying. Like, I don't feel like doing that today. I feel like just going to sleep. It's late, and it's like you go, everything from A to Z has to be done. The food, the timing, the cardio,
And somebody's
the training.
always trying to tweak a little bit.
Always.
I'm guilty, I've been guilty. Fred knows, he knows.
I mean, it's just
Well, one of the biggest things was sleep too.
yeah.
That's part of
I was
it.
getting, I went from getting 4 hours or 3.5 hours consistently to getting 6 to 7.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge.
So that made a huge,
Huge.
difference in my physique. And I listened. I was being coachable.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
That's one of the biggest things.
because you'll justify anything.
Always,
I mean,
right?
like, well, I didn't have fats here, so peanut butter's the same. It's a fat, so I'll just have 2 tablespoons.
I know, it's so easy to do that. When you're at the end, you got 3 fish meals, and you're like, what was the difference between ground turkey and fish?
You know what? At the end is where I get lasered in.
Yeah.
I like to fool around a little bit. Like my mindset is not all the way plugged in when we're further out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's something in my mind that I keep telling myself, I got time, but as soon as I start, because I don't really come in until my upper body and all that starts to come in as we get closer, like 4
You
weeks
look
out.
pretty great in the gym this week. So I don't know
Thank
what's going
you.
on.
But as soon as we get there, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it gets hard those last few weeks.
You don't want to screw it up either.
You don't want to screw it up when you come that far.
When you look that awesome and you're in like everything's changing on a daily
Right.
basis, you're really afraid to mess that part
Sure.
up, right? You don't want to mess that part up. So I get that, and that's when it gets fun.
It does. It
That's
gets
when
fun.
it gets fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and it's kind of the same thing in business, right? Like you plug away, and you're just like, God, the numbers aren't growing the way
You
I want
don't
them to grow.
see it, yep.
And then all of a sudden you just wake up and you're like, oh, we're doing pretty good.
That's exactly how it works.
And at that point, you're so afraid to go back the other way that you just keep pushing even harder.
That's
and,
right.
And that's, I think, it's kind of like the same scenario,
It's
right?
the same exact scenario. This is why I love bodybuilding so much. It has really, really heightened and tightened my focus in business. It's because you realize it's a long game.
Yeah.
It's not like a sprint, It takes years to build the body, the conditioning, all of that. And even when you're in your prep or whatever, whether it's 16 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, it's like Fred said, it's just the things you just do consistently every day. You might not see the changes or you don't feel like you're changing as quickly, and then all of a sudden you just are. And that's confirmation that, okay, it's all the stuff that I kept doing. It's the same exact thing in business. Because so many people quit too soon.
Right.
You give up.
You have to front load it. You have to, especially with business or with your diet. It's just like you're putting all this energy. I'm doing double cardios. I'm eating all this food. I'm eating. You're 2-3 weeks into your prep, and you're like, I don't really see that much change. There's a little bit, but I don't really see. It's hard to see yourself, right? And then all of a sudden, week 8 comes around, 10. You're like, ooh, okay, abs are in. You see lines.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be possible if you didn't front load it first, if you didn't put all that work and do all the right things first.
Which goes to what the rules of physics, right? Like it's more effort to get things moving.
Yes.
And once it gets moving, it kind of goes on its own. It continues to move at its own pace, So
like a rocket ship taking off, right?
Yeah.
Once you're in orbit, it's just kind of cruising.
Right.
So,
Yeah. But that kind of brings to the point of, we were talking about, like, we were talking about training partners earlier, right? And, I know what I wanted to say. Check this out. I know when it clicked for me. This is a terrible way for it to click for you, right? Because, like, if you're a pro bodybuilder, you have genetic gifts, right? I mean, it's just, that's why part of the reason why you're there. Genetically, you just carry your body just reacts a certain way. And,
it's called PITA AF. I'll tell you guys about that later.
Okay. All right. So I'm sitting there, and we did. I qualified for my first Olympia, and I'm doing everything George tells me the last 3 weeks. Because I qualified by doing Finland about 4 weeks out, and so obviously I was excited about qualifying for my first Olympia. So I had a couple days where I was eating all of that, and then you go to. Fast forward to the Olympia night, and your coach is looking at me and he goes, I mean, you look good, but I mean, like, you're the softest person I have here. And I'm like, I did everything you said the last 3 weeks. He's like, yeah, it's nice to read.
All right, I hope he caught that.
He's like, Fred, you're with the best.
Wow.
These are the best, right? Like, these are the 17 best bodybuilders in the world, and you're here. He's like, just go out there and have fun. He's like,
wow.
And I'm sitting there going,
that made me feel nauseous. Like if you would have said that to me.
Yeah, right. So I go back to my room, I'm laying down, my wife's like, what's wrong? And I'm like,
Damn.
I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be here, you know. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is your dream. And I'm like, not like this, right? And so...
You knew what you had done, right? Did it occur
Well,
to you yet?
I mean, like, the thing is, I didn't really... It wasn't like, oh, man, I cheated on my dad. It was like, just little stuff, you know, like...
That adds up.
That adds up,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
You know, like, a pick here, picking something
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
cut cardio 5 minutes short because I got to get to a client, all this type of stuff, right? So I get on stage, and I remember Jay Cutler, and you can go find that interview online, like Jay Cutler's interviewing me, and he's talking to me, and everyone that's talking to me goes, were you feeling okay? Like, everyone that sees that interview goes, did you feel okay? And I was like, I was checked out, I didn't want to be there. I was so nervous about going on stage and making a fool of myself. And the way I kind of dealt with it is I got on stage, and you have millions of people watching. Like, you have the thousands in the stadium, but millions of people around the world are watching. And you're like, fuck, man, this is not. But, so the way I got through it was, you know, I focused on Sean Burton. Him and I were friends, and he hadn't placed high yet at the Olympia, and they called him in the first call out.
Yeah.
And then Kai was fighting Phil, and I was friends with Kai, so that's why I put my energy. Focused in on, you know, helping them. And then it was Johnny Jackson. We were riding over to the expo the next day, because you have to do like meet and greets with the fans and all that stuff. And he says to me, what's wrong with you? We're at the Olympia. And I said, man, you know, I just feel like shit about the way last night went. He goes, bro, not one person in the world wouldn't want to be in your position.
Right.
He's like, so it's not what you want, change it for next year. But he said, that ain't what it's about. Your night's tonight anyway. You know, and I was just like, because I'm known for posing, right? So he's like, tonight's your night. And it was so funny because I walked on stage, and this is why sometimes even if it doesn't start, your journey doesn't, or the competition doesn't start the way you want it to. You just gotta keep fighting.
Yes.
Because
find that thing.
Right, because I walk on stage, and I swear to God, it was crickets. Nobody was clapping. I could hear my boys in the top stand going, "Go Fred!"
Right.
Actually, I was there.
Right.
I was on the front row.
Right. Right. So I go on stage, crickets. When I got done, what?
You're like, oh, I heard somebody's calling my name, screaming. Oh, the place was erupted because I was on my feet too.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Everybody was standing up, and that day was like, boom! Immediately, the Arnold saying,
"Crazy,
you're going to compete in March at the Arnold." You know, so it did start out bad, but what happened is I was so driven to look completely different when I got to the Arnold that if it wasn't for politics, I would have been in that top 6 at the Arnold that year. And because I was standing next to Dexter, and we were like, holy shit. Right?
Yeah, I was there. I was there too.
Yeah, right?
And did you follow, like, did you have a whole other approach?
Oh, my training went to a different level.
Like no picking, no nothing, all that?
I never came off the diet more than we added peanut butter to oatmeal and when I was in Alaska doing a guest posing appearance. George was like, you can have a little bread. So I had a little bread. But if he didn't tell me to put it in my mouth, I didn't put it in my mouth. From the time I got off, I did like a week after Olympia, and then I got ready for my guest posing in Alaska about a month later. And from that point forward, I didn't touch anything. It just didn't matter. Like, nothing mattered. And I just remember George kept saying, if you're an Olympian, you should never lose your abs. Right? And I'm naturally a fat guy, so I don't really have abs unless I really work at it, you know? And he said, you should never lose your abs. So I had that mentality for a very long time. Very long time. And I pretty much kept that all the way.
Because you didn't want that feeling again, where it's that feeling of like, you know that you were...
There's no worse feeling than being on stage
and knowing you did.
And knowing you're not right.
That's something.
And it's because of you.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Right.
Too.
It's that feeling inside. You're like,
it's like, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah.
And once you have that feeling, you won't do it again. That was another switch this year or last couple years.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I'm here. I'm putting all this time and effort. Why not listen and do 100%? Because you get up on stage and I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself. Not following the diet or not following it 100%, you're up on stage and then you place like, 4th or 5th, and you're like, I could have been first. If I was a little tighter, I could have. And then knowing, just going back to like, oh, you had that sandwich, or you did this, or you didn't do that, or you cut that corner, and then it rips you up, and you're like, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
All the time,
Yeah.
all the sacrifice, all the money you put into it, and you cut corners.
Right.
It just makes sense.
You asked what the difference was. Up until that show, the Arnold in 2013, up until then, before every show, up until 4 weeks out, I did cheat meals. And I'm not talking like one on a Sunday. I did 2 or 3 on a Sunday. Right, like I eat my first 3 meals, and then the rest of the day would be whatever I wanted. And I did that throughout my entire career. And it wasn't.
I'll suffer all week for one of those days.
Yeah, right. And it wasn't until I did that after Olympia that I cut that out.
Wow.
I cut that out.
It's like a whole other mindset, like what he said to you, Fred, you're here with the best. Like just that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I remember
oh.
Tony Freeman walked in the room, and he's posing in front of me, and I'm like, damn, I don't look like that.
You said something to me like that about the flexible dieting.
In what way?
I forget what you said, because I like to do that, like just take the macros and plug in my own food and stuff. And he said something, and you said something to the effect of like, about you're a pro now.
Right.
Something like that. And I was just like,
Well, I mean, like, like
it's different thinking, every level.
Right.
It's
It
like
depends on
how
the
you're
person
thinking.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
because like some people just have super high fast metabolisms, and for that person, you have to allow more leeway because the junk food sticks with you a little longer, right? But for people like you and I don't have metabolisms that can handle that. Like I have to be pretty good. And then after dieting, like I dieted July 1st to now, pretty much. July 1st till March of right before I went to or was supposed to go to Australia. I was 100% from July 1st. I can count on one hand how many times I ate anything off the diet in all that time. And then I really didn't need to because dieting with Chris has been really easy because he allows you some junk anyway, and he factors it in.
Right.
But, and during this quarantine, I kept it pretty tight. But I mean, when you're home and the kids are home, you're just like, damn. And you don't have a show to shoot for. Like that's the hardest part. Like how do you stay locked in when you don't have a goal, right? It's like almost impossible.
Right.
So it's like for me, I was just trying to make sure that I don't get fat because if I'm fat, then I'm not going to grow as well. And so that became the goal. Like I can push the envelope a little bit, but I got to keep my abs. I got to stay in shape.
Right.
And that's where we're at. But when it comes to training partners, like you've been a great training partner for me. Well, what do you look for in a training partner?
Well, it's funny that you say that because the guy you see me working with, Shaheen, the guy who was painting the wall at the gym, last video, I've been working with him. I trained him last year from, I think it was February to May. And then he went on hiatus for a little bit with everything, trying to build his company and everything. And then he came back and said, we should start working out. And that's when I was doing the 5 a.m. workouts.
Right.
And that's obviously, my show was over. And from like July to September, I was like, all right, well, what focus do I have? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have nothing to move forward to. Like, I work out, but I'm not working out towards anything now. And then he was kind of felt the same way just in general after we finished training. So me and him worked out at 5 in the morning. And I will say, out of everybody that I've ever worked with, he's probably the most consistent and the same mindset of training that I've had since I just started working out, because I push more weight when I'm with him. Like, I like to work out by myself because every time I usually work out with a person, they don't even want to do it as hard as I did, or they don't want to do the same thing I'm doing, or they're just like, I didn't show up, even stuff like that. But me and him have not missed a date working out, and he's like, we've been working out since last September. We're still working out now. Obviously, quarantine messed that up a little bit, but even then, we haven't missed a beat. So, main thing I need is you need to be consistent, and we need to be on the same mindset. Like, if you're a powerlifter and I'm training like a bodybuilder, that's fine, but I need that same intensity that we're working that same day. Because if you're like, I'm just going to do little curls today, a little chest, and I'm going to leave. I got legs. You all the way over there. I need help. So it's just, I need that intensity. Ironically enough, he was talking about moving too. I was like, man, if you move, I ain't worried about by myself again. So I know you said I can work out with you, but you got your little fan club, so I'll be all right.
Good partners. It's all about the intensity and showing up, right? Those two things are key to a good partner and having similar goals, you know, and just pushing without the risk of injury
Yeah.
is one of them too. Doing it properly. If you see something, it's hard to see yourself every time. You might be just move your elbows in slightly, you're a little bowed or something like that. Just little, you know, just having that other set of eyes on you.
Yeah.
But pushing and driving and just getting the work in and just
You know,
loving
you
the
eat over
paint.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to be on camera.
I mean, you're a bodybuilder, so
It's part of it.
Jessica's taking a food break, committed to the process. No, I think for you, you know, like when me, you, and Eddie used to train,
Oh, it's insane.
it was insane, you know, and I think because all of us were strong. All of us were strong. And it was always like, you know, when it came to arm day, you were going to kill us. And when it came to, you know, back day, you know, and leg day, it was just like, survival,
Who's
survival,
on
you
top.
know? And, but it became like such a brotherhood because it was like, when you're really in tune with your training partner, you don't talk. You know, like, I don't know what y'all were doing, because I have headphones on.
Right, yeah,
but,
yeah.
But like, for me, like, I can know what you're about to do before you're about to do it.
Yeah.
I'm interjecting, telling you, I know when your mind's starting to go, so I'm telling you, let's go. And that's the other part. Like, yesterday I'm training, and the kid Andre Price is training with me, and he's good. But he's young.
Right.
He's young. So, you know, I've been very cautious about training with even Eddie again because I've had the injuries, and I can't afford another setback.
Right.
But, you know, yesterday I was like, all right, because he was just talking so much trash. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. And I did let my ego get in the way, and thank God I made it through.
Right.
But what I've been really cautious about doing is, throughout the whole quarantine, is beating the number,
Yeah.
right? So last week, we squat 455, I'm going to squat 475, you know? Beating the number every week on the same exercises, right? You have your different assistance exercises, but the core exercises are staying the same for me. And I'm just trying to beat the intensity by beating the number every week. Well, we just turn that apple cart upside down this week because he's training with me. And when we were training together, it was like, I mean, it may say 6 sets, but he ain't dead yet. Let's go. You know? But we all had that same mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what made it good. Like, it sucks to train with somebody where you guys are pushing this way and they're the anchor holding you back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in putting the ego thing, like when we train together, you and Eddie and myself, you guys are strong, right? I mean, we're all strong guys. But when it came to chest,
Yeah.
I would do a quarter of what they're doing because I know
Right.
I had a partial tear,
Yep.
and I know what I should be doing. So I would focus on either the pace, right, or I would make it more deliberate of the rep,
Yeah.
and not get caught up in seeing you. You know, you guys have 5 plates on there, and I got 2 plates on.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put the same intensity into the exercise, but I'm just not gonna put myself in that
Sure.
situation.
But as a good training partner, I think we respected that more.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Like, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, we weren't forcing you to go
Yeah.
more, you know,
Right.
like sometimes you got a trainer partner, oh man, you're being a pussy.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't happen.
And then
You know, like,
fast forward from when we were trading to 5 months ago, feeling strong, feeling good. Let's put 2 plates on, no problem. Let's put 3, 4, 5. Partial tear. I'm like, that's why I don't do flat bench.
Yeah.
I know better, and I
Yeah.
didn't listen to
Yeah.
myself.
I learned that recently too. How I just flat bench always is my shoulder now.
So I don't do it.
so I have a theory on that, and like, because here's what I think. I think enough people don't do the external work outside the gym so that they can stay loose enough to do all the movements, right? So I've been getting Graston's work done.
Right.
And let me tell you, I didn't do it for about a month and about 5 or 6 weeks during quarantine, right? And I could feel it.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. I've been back to him 4 weeks, 365 on incline this week, no pain, right?
That's awesome.
So it's like you have to make sure that the same time and attention we put into lifting and making sure we get the best workouts, that we're putting that same time and attention into the soft tissue work, you know, into the chiropractic work, into, you know, whether it's Graston,
Massages.
you know, whatever, massages,
Sure.
yeah, like cryotherapy, all these things matter, you know, and Because when one thing's tight, your body can overcompensate somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And almost every bodybuilder you know has done this. Yeah, I'm just a little sore, man.
Yeah.
My shoulder. I mean, I work on my shoulder.
Well, some bodybuilders work out with a broken rib, though. So.
Yeah, you know.
Whoever that person is.
Yeah, like, you okay, Fred? Yeah. Well, I think you're supposed to be able to breathe. I mean,
When your training partner, you're going, if he passes out, who's going to do mouth to mouth?
not it.
No, that self-care is so key.
That's
Yeah.
You know, I'm on that. I get my chiropractic, my massage, my Graston, all of that. ART.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff saves me.
It does, and as we get older, man, it's even more important. Like, you know, like when you're in your 20s, you squat 10 sets of 10, you get up the next day, you know, I'm trying again.
I'm a
Even
little
your
sore.
30s.
It was that?
Even your 30s.
Yeah.
I didn't start really feeling like knee stuff
I know.
until like last year. I was like, ooh, is this seriously what happens in your 40s?
Yeah, man, I get up in the morning now, I'm like, damn.
Yes.
You test everything out. Yeah, I can move.
Yeah.
Ankles.
Once in a
Can I
while,
flex my foot?
Stand up. Yep.
Yeah, and that's why it's, you know, Gary Vee is always talking about, you know, if you want to keep progressing, keep young people around you, right?
I like that.
And that's what I'd like to do is keep young people, young energy around me. You know, like even if I'm not
Does
training.
that include your kids for training?
Yeah, you know, like me and my daughter are training partners right now. You know,
I love that.
And so the thing is, like, when I'm about to maybe not give 100%, I know she's watching.
Mm-hmm.
No way I can see her not. No way I can let her see me not give 100%.
Right.
Because I don't want her to think that's ever okay. So you know, like that's nothing's going to fuel you more than that. You know?
Right.
So I think that's huge. How about you? You know, you don't really train with a partner, right? You're always training by yourself.
Yeah, now I keep saying that I've got to get a training partner. I was actually, when I was at the gym before quarantine, I had my eyes. So I'm in a new area. I don't know anybody. Right? We live in Washington State now. And we had traveled for a lot for like 4 or 5 years. So we weren't really settled anywhere. So now we bought a house, we're settled down, the whole thing. But I haven't really made any gym friends. You know what I mean? So I found myself doing this weird thing, like looking around like, oh, maybe she would want to train with me, or he would, you know, but it's like you got to go up and say, hey, you looking for a training partner? So I was getting to that point, and then we had quarantine.
Right.
And, you know, thankfully I have a home gym, and my husband would come down and spot me, but a lot of times he's traveling. He'll be gone for a couple of weeks at a time. So I mostly train by myself. So I'm not able to do what I'm able to do with you guys. You know, what you can do when you've got an assist, right? I can press those 45, 50-pound dumbbells, but I can't really get them, lay down, be safe, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of, you know, stuff I can't do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing is trust, right? When you trust your training partner, you're not even thinking about are they going to be able to get it off me,
Right.
right? You know, like if
Right.
like sometimes, you know, when you start with a new training partner, that's always the hurdle, right? Like how do I get to a point where I trust that you got me?
Or the lift at all, timing and all that other stuff.
Yeah, because like, you know, when we trained for so long, it was like you didn't have to say anything.
Nope.
I knew from how you prepped that, okay, he's gonna press now. Or he's gonna curl it this way, and then you start to learn people's body language, right? So I know when you're gonna start, when I know you're tired before you even know you get tired, right? So that's huge when it comes to
Absolutely.
A really good training partner and staying engaged.
Yeah.
I see training
Not
partners.
tuning out.
Yeah,
You see people
oh,
looking all
man.
around the
Yeah.
gym, and
I
they're
see
supposed to be spotting.
Training partners or partners doing the set and they,
Yes.
you know, like, are you good? No.
That's the difference between
Oh,
working
man.
out and training.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know, like I need somebody to make sure that we are training.
Right.
You know, so I think so. If you guys are out there and you're looking for a good training partner, you know, that's one of the things you want to make sure. A common goal, number one, you gotta have a common goal. I think that's super important. I mean, you can definitely work out with somebody with different goals, but to get the most out of each other, you need to have a common goal. And then two, they gotta be engaged, and they, you know, having somebody that's somewhat has an understanding of what's going on. You know, like not a complete. If you've been doing this for a minute, I don't necessarily suggest you train with an absolute novice as your training partner. Not that you can't guide them, bring them along, and teach them, but as your main training partner, I think it's gonna be that anchor that kind of slows you
Does
down.
your partner need to be as strong as you or stronger?
No,
Okay.
just
They
needs
just
to.
need to know how.
I think
Intensity. Their intensity needs.
I mean, you're not gonna have me spot you when you're squatting.
Well, here's the thing. Like the more you do this, the more control you have. So like if the difference when you're training with me versus like say Paul or Eddie is if I'm doing ready to go for a 600-pound squat,
Right.
I might think twice
Of course.
because I don't know if she can get me. You know,
Right.
That's the difference. That's where the strength can come.
2,000-pound leg lift.
Yeah. You know, like we did 1900 this past week on leg press, and I'm sitting there going, man, I hope these guys. I hope when it was Paul and Eddie, there was no question. It would have just been let's go.
That was like me yesterday.
There's no
I'm like,
salt.
Fred, you got me?
I got you. Yeah.
Because
like
see, I'm not used to having a partner.
Right. So, and it's that self-preservation kicks in, like, oh my God, am I good?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I mean, I think having a training partner can sometimes be that thing that lifts you over that edge to say, because, we also have that ego thing and it's the natural competitiveness that makes us want to go a little harder when we're training with someone else.
Well, you also, I mean, when I'm training with you guys, I do more than I would do on my own.
Right.
Not in that egotistical way you're talking about, like I'm beyond that, but in the sense that if I'm doing it by myself, I'm already like, I ain't gonna be able to do that much weight.
So, you and Emma are in the gym, and
See, Emma's not with me either.
like you and Emma are in the gym, and you're like, I don't know if I need to do 20s or 25s. And Emma picks up the 25s. You ain't picking up 25s?
Yes.
Right?
So don't tell me
Yes.
you're beyond that. All athletes want to be the best.
Well, I mean, beyond getting hurt, you know what I mean?
True,
Like,
true. But,
yeah.
but the reality
'Cause
is when
I've
you're in
done
it,
that plenty of times.
all the times you really gotten hurt, did you feel like you were going to get hurt?
No.
No.
Well, I know actually last one I was like, I
By
probably
that
shouldn't
time
be
I
doing
tore my lat.
I shouldn't be doing
I felt like, oh, I should stop.
But when we did our dips, Eddie and you and myself doing 100 dips, and that was super competitive because who's going to quit first?
Right.
Who's going to quit first?
Right.
I did 110. Well, I did 120.
I mean, my injury wasn't gym related, but when I tore my ACL, I was feeling good. I was getting rebounds all day,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I was like, I gotta get this rebound. Doing top speed, pivot.
Mine always came from being competitive. I got injured a lot in CrossFit. I could do the most pull-ups. I could do that's how I tore my lat. I crushed it. I did like 200 kipping pull-ups, like
Damn.
unbroken. It was crazy.
Wow.
And then, what's that?
Wow.
But all to win.
That's cool. Well, if you want to do your 200 kipping pull-ups, you should use
Ooh, I don't think I
Biggie
can do them now.
Biggie Fuel. Nah, honestly,
My favorite.
I'm super excited about the product line. Big Sports is doing big things. We honestly have created products that are really making a difference for people. I was in the gym going as a guest to the gym the other day. These guys in the middle of his set workout, and he takes the Biggie Fuel. He yells out, "This product is awesome!" And then a girl, one of my trainers, she's training this lady the other day, and she starts cramping. She's like, "Oh, I always cramp." So she mixes her some up the RMR with the BCAAs, EAs, and electrolyte blend in it, and the beta-alanine, and she's just like, "Oh my God!" In 10 minutes, she was good. And she said, "I couldn't believe how quickly this worked." So that's a really good feeling. And the pain venom, that has really helped a lot of people not have to use so much Advil, so many anti-inflammatories, creates blood flow, improves healing. So I think if you guys haven't tried the product line, definitely try it. It will help you in the gym, help you in your performance, and just overall health. And that being said, to touch on the current situation of things out there before we end, I just want to say there's been a lot of dialogue about racism right now. And, I think it's really positive the type of dialogue that's going on because it's making people, you're seeing people for truly who they are, which is a good thing because no one expects you not to be who you are. You have the right to feel the way you want to feel. But the fact that we can have the dialogue, that's how change is created. I mean, how do you...
It's being a black man in American Indian, you see things, you see racism, you see you're treated a little bit differently. And it's hard for a person that doesn't wear this skin to be aware of that. It's getting easier now because there's more cell phones and you can kind of see it secondhand. But when you feel it, I mean, you know that you're driving, there's a cop behind you, you're like, okay, well, I got to make sure my light's on, I got to make sure my car's turned off, both hands are present. Those are things that you think of and things you have to tell your children too. Where our European brothers and sisters don't really have to worry about that stuff. Those aren't conversations. Those aren't feelings. Those aren't, there's no focus on that. But, I got to walk, having the size that I have. I got to be sure I don't come off as intimidating, and it's always a smile and, hey, how you doing? And tonality, right? So, because it could be misinterpreted, and then next thing you know, you got somebody making a phone call saying, hey, this guy, I feel threatened by this guy over here. So, yes, you have to be aware of it, and I think, our European brothers and sisters are starting to see it a little bit more because of cell phones and YouTube and all these things, where it was just shown on the 6 or 7 channels back in 1970, where you didn't see it then.
1990s, same thing. You wouldn't see people with cell phones recording everything.
Right, now it's worldwide instantly, and I think that makes people more aware of it. So hopefully, the next coming years with the commingling of black and white and other ethnicities coming together, it won't be as bad.
Well, look what this has done, right? In 4 years, like 4 years ago, Colin Kaepernick knelt, and everybody just murdered him for it, right? Like, career is done, right? Everyone, and then if you said anything about it, oh man, like I mentioned one thing supporting it one time, and my Instagram was flooded with.
Wait a minute. So what did I miss? Supporting what?
Instagram
taking a knee.
Taking a knee.
Oh, taking a knee. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So when all my Instagram followers, I got like DMs, a lot of DMs where they were just like jumping on me and saying, I thought you were one of the good ones. I thought
good ones.
I thought I was one of the good ones. Like, I thought you were different.
Right,
I mean, it's just crazy. Like, no, I'm black. I'm educated. I'm able to mingle and interact with all types of people. I love all types of people, but I'm still black, and those same challenges face me. And but now, what does the NFL say? We support the protest.
See, and that's what pisses me off the most. I saw last night Laura Ingraham saying, oh, Drew Brees, he has the right to say whatever he wants. But then right next to that, saying LeBron James, shut up and dribble.
Right.
That infuriates me. And then I see it and I have to just keep scrolling because like in my posts, I don't know if anybody who's watching the podcast saw my posts about how I'm walking around my neighborhood, I see the cops. They're not there for me. They're here to do whatever, but at the same night, all the riots went on. And I'm thinking, all right, I have to look less threatening. I'm just going to put my hands on my head. It wasn't anything crazy. Like, I'm walking like this. I'm just, like, walking around, like, look like relaxed by having my hands on my head. As soon as I got past the cops, I just started bawling, crying. I text Fred about it.
The fact that you even have to do that.
Yeah, because we the same day we shot the podcast, and I was just like, yo, I guess talking about it for like an hour and a half, and then seeing everything, and then the riots are down the street from my house, and then now I see the cops. I'm just doing my night cardio. Why should I have to feel this way? And it's just like, I see it so much, I just get mad, and I'm just like, I mean, I understand why I'm mad, but it's just like, I just got to keep scrolling because if I stay here it's too long, and then if I dive into the comments, it's just going to get any worse. But it's just like, it's crazy how, like you said, Kaepernick did it. What are you doing? You making us lose money. Drew Brees does it. We support you.
What? Do you think it's the difference in time? Like,
well, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Right? So now, right, because here's the thing.
And I hear you.
It's all about empathy, right? Like, if you're white, how can you no. You just happen to be in my line of sight. No. All right, no.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I was waiting for that to come in. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Anyway.
You're Hispanic, but are you anything else?
I'm 100% Puerto Rican. Both
Puerto
my
Rican.
parents born in Puerto Rico, from Puerto Rico.
Wow.
And I'm married to a white man.
Yeah.
Right? And so my kids.
Right, so what I'm saying is, lost my train of thought. But basically, what is exciting about the situation is this: the NFL has so much power in this country
Big time.
that when they threatened to not bring the Super Bowl to Arizona, Arizona then, in the 2000s, recognized Martin Luther King's birthday as a holiday. Only because they threatened. So what if the NFL is, because 75% of NFL is black.
Yeah.
And they're afraid right now that, yeah, ratings are one thing, but if the players don't play, that's a whole nother other thing, right? And so everyone loses money.
1% of the coaches
What?
are black.
Yeah, that's a whole. That's another issue, right? Maybe that'll help change too. But
Right.
but the thing is, now what if they go in and say, if you're not supporting, condemning police brutality, we're not going to play in your city. Everything changes.
Sure.
So that's what I said, and I said this last week. I said you need white men of power to be empathetic to the situation.
That's the shift that has to happen
Right.
there. And I'm obviously not a black man, but can I share
Do your thing.
at all? So,
You're a minority.
like you know how you had that feel, like, because it's so heavy, everything is, right? And I get news from all sources. I try my hardest not to watch one, right? I look
Sure,
everywhere. My I'm a Christian, so I'm always trying to come from a place of love, right? Like, how can I love more? How can I be open more? How can I not condemn this person or that person and just be looking at it from a different perspective of empathy? I think you said empathy, or understanding, or just trying to put myself in the other position. So this week, when where we are in Washington, I feel like it's isolated, right? And then coming back here to my hometown, where it's just more people of color. I'm right downtown where it's rioting, like just feeling it all, talking to my family and everything like that. It just was so heavy. And like you, I sat in my office the other day and I must have cried for about an hour. Just all the feelings, right? So I grew up in two different neighborhoods. I grew up in an all-white neighborhood in Edgemore Gardens, and I grew up in an all-black neighborhood on 25th and Tatnall. I don't know if you know Market Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my grandparents lived. Both poor neighborhoods, right? So I got attacked from both sides, right, for different reasons. But growing up, the majority of all my friends were black. I just grew. That was where I grew up. And I can say for a fact, even though it's the same, because we talk about class structure, I can say for a fact both were the same class structure in the white community and in the black community. And my black friends were, I saw it very clearly treated way different than my white friends were. With the cops, the whole thing, because we had riots in that neighborhood and all of that. And I'll never forget, I was in high school, maybe sophomore year, and I worked at this little hair salon downtown in Trolley Square. And I was in the back, I was a shampoo girl. I was shampooing somebody's hair, and I heard the owner like frantically telling everybody, lock the door, don't go outside, somebody's suspicious out front of the salon. And when I came out front, it was my boyfriend, my black boyfriend. He had come to bring me flowers.
Yeah.
And it was like I hadn't experienced it on that level. And I just remember I couldn't even tell him. I was so, I was young. I didn't know how to tell him that. And it was, that changed a lot for me, And when this all came up, I just kept thinking of him, thinking of Ray, in that moment. And so it's conflicting, not conflicting. It's interesting to be in the perspective, and my mom's friends were black. We had black family members, white family members, Puerto Rican. I just grew up with a mix of races. So it's interesting because I would even experience and hear racism from people that were in my white family. They wouldn't even care, that they were saying it around me or in front of me. And so it was really strange. I kind of walked this fine line, in the middle of people that you loved, but then you could see in private they acted a certain way, either towards me, because my mom had ended up marrying, my brother is half white, and so I got a lot of racism from their side of the family. and then also seeing how people would act and talk to me, about other races when they weren't around.
Mhm.
So do you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
like the whole heaviness of all of it just like hit me so hard last week, and I was just like, hopefully something is shifting in the sense that people can just start talking about it honestly,
Mhm.
right? And like you said, now people are seeing, more white people are having to see it. It's not just talk.
Mhm.
They can't just be like, oh, racism is over. Why do you keep playing the race card? This, that, and the other. Like, you can't not see it
You
now.
guys had a black president.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, like just, and not even knowing, like them not even knowing what racism means, or thinking like, I'm not racist, so racist, not getting the systemic part of it. Because I've never seen white people talking and sharing and like saying stuff the way that they are.
I saw somebody at a protest say, we're sick of this shit when us white people have to tell you stop being racist. It's just like, that's...
But even now with the hashtag Black Lives Matter versus when people were doing it before, and you would see people say all lives matter,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't know. They might still be doing that. I don't
They're
see
still-
it as much.
They're still doing it.
But there is, it's still out there.
There's a
I got
better
people talking shit
understanding.
on my Instagram
Yeah,
for something I
there's a better-
shared Chris Rock yesterday. Or a
Yeah,
couple days
there's
ago.
a better understanding. Like I heard Greg Jennings was on First Take, and he was like, first things first. He said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said basically, right now, you're looking at your white friends and you're saying, we're drowning. You're on land. Like, if you can't throw us the rope and pull us out, just throw us something so we can be heard, so we can stay afloat.
Yeah.
Right? Throw us something that we can hang on to so we don't drown. And that's all you're asking for from white America is just understand what we're saying. Like, I don't know if you're going to change. I don't know if this is going to change. But if at least you can understand what's
Seek to
going on
understand,
and see what's
not to
going
be
on, right?
understood,
At least
yeah.
understand that there is a difference
Right.
in the opportunities. There is a difference in how war veterans that came back from World War II were treated versus their white counterpart. There's a difference, and if you can't even recognize there's a difference, then how can you have empathy for the situation?
That's it. It's the empathy. I'm hoping that that's the place that we're getting to by communicating. Like, I've had this conversation with my husband. I'm like, you are the privileged American. Like, it doesn't get any more, not only like the way he was raised and like just being a white male. And like, you have to acknowledge that you don't get it. You don't understand it. You know what I mean? So unless you intentionally seek to understand,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid. My husband is very non-confrontational, right?
Sure.
He's just to himself. He doesn't want to bother anybody. He's just and I'm like, it's the starting the conversation. Don't be afraid you're going to say something wrong. Ask questions. You know what I mean? Seek to understand from
Yeah.
another person's point of view. And one of his closest friends is from Trinidad, and is darker than you, but they never that conversation doesn't come up, right? Like some people are afraid, just afraid to bring up the conversation. So I'm hoping
I mean, I
that
purposely brought it up to some of my closer white clients this week.
I think it's so important.
Because I want to know what they feel.
Right.
And because, you can't, to me, it's very simple. Like, even when Kaepernick was kneeling, anybody talking about the flag?
Right.
I love America.
Right.
I've been all over this world in a lot of different countries, and America is the place to be.
You want to come back to
Right,
America?
no
You definitely
one's
do.
denying that. No
Right.
one's saying that's not the case. But we are saying, can we just get some equal treatment?
Sure.
Because that's all we're looking for.
I don't want anything extra. I just want to be
Right.
have the
I'm
same
wondering,
playing ground.
I'm even okay with the situation where, okay, I know I'm gonna have to work a little harder. Because there's less of us, and people like doing business with people that are like them. So, and that's fine. I'm okay with that too. But what it hit me really hard this week is I haven't really explained much to my younger kids, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if they need to be seeing this. I don't, because it's a lot to comprehend.
It's a lot.
And it's emotionally hard for us as adults to always have the right feelings and react the right way.
And even say stuff the right way.
Right.
You
So-
feel it's like, oh.
So when my son looks at me and goes, "How do you know that's not going to happen to you, Dad?" And I'm like, I don't.
Right.
You don't.
It's true.
I'm looking at him and I'm going, I try to come up with something, to make him feel a little better about it, but what are you going to say? You're like, you don't.
Right.
It's like, I can honestly say what it should be is that I know I'm not going to put myself in those
Yeah.
situations. I know I'm not going to commit crime. I know I'm not going to do things to make people think of me as suspicious, but the reality of the situation is I'm a bigger black guy who, if I'm caught around the wrong cop because he has an issue or has had an issue or maybe thinking something different, or, oh my God, there was a threat around here and this could be
Right.
the person.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that video, they didn't even ask for his ID.
The FBI.
The FBI agent, they didn't even ask for his ID before they put him in handcuffs.
Right.
You look like you're that guy.
Yeah.
What do you mean? All black people don't look alike.
So maybe you can help me with this too. I'm having a challenge with if you have a group of people and they see things a certain way and they're telling you over and over it's this way, and you have another group of people that don't see it that way and they're like, no, there's no problem. How can you not listen to the group of people? It's not like one or two, it's millions of people that are telling you this is going on, but yet the other group of people they don't want to hear it.
Right.
People see through their own filter. I know.
And I just watched something fantastic. Was The Rock? I don't know if you saw his asking where's the leadership?
Yeah,
Where
I
are
saw
you?
that. Yeah.
We need the empathy from our leader.
Oh,
Where
man.
are you? You're not showing
Yeah.
up. Where are you? And he went on this
President's missing the mark right now.
10-minute thing. It was amazing. He stepped up and he's just asking where's the leadership. And then I scroll down to see the comments. And all the negative comments.
Yep.
You used to be this. I thought you were this.
Crazy.
I thought you were this. And it was like
Crazy.
European.
How do you miss that?
European.
know.
I'm like, well, if somebody's experiencing something that's of a different color, and it's telling you this is happening, how are you not understanding or at least open to listen?
And then
to
the crazy thing about it is they don't even say that it's because a black white issue. They're like, it's the left. It's the left. What are you talking
And that's
about?
the thing
Like, this is not the political. The man
But
dying.
see, that's the society we live in now, that everything becomes politicized on both sides.
That's where the
You know what I
frustration
mean?
lies.
That's the problem. So
It
then
is.
you can't get to the
Challenging.
heart of the matter, which is this is a human issue. This is about what you guys were saying, empathy, and
Yeah.
if everything is political, you can't even get to the heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got too many blocks.
Right.
If you're only going to listen to the right, if you're only going to listen
You're
to the left, like
disconnected.
you just are tuned out, and that's the problem. Everybody filters things through their experience, which is just how we have to filter things, right?
Right.
But in order to get to a resolution, in order for people to feel heard and understood, and in order to not be fighting and to actually have something be resolved and to elevate to a higher level, all that stuff's got to come down. Those are all blocks,
Yeah.
right? Like emotional blocks, everything. Hiding behind money, hiding behind politics, hiding behind all that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that makes me break down in tears.
And it's crazy. Somebody posted, it's like, I don't understand how trying to stop racism is such a big deal. It's like, you don't like somebody because of their race. So why is that a big deal that we're saying, hey, we want this to stop so we can all get along? But everyone's like, no. Then it's like, why are you arguing for anything other? It's not like we're saying you like apples or oranges. It's just it's like hatred. It's just literally
Not
just
liking
hatred.
somebody has nothing to do with you know what I mean? There's a lot of people you don't like. That doesn't mean that any of us have a right to abuse
There's some black people I don't like.
But look, everybody I don't like is based off their character, not off of anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they're irrational thoughts or, ability to spew negativity when there's no reason. But
Got one in mind?
But if somebody wants to feel like that.
If you went into schools in a kindergarten and you talked about equality, and you talked about the good and bad of everyone, and how, and educated them on people are different, but it doesn't make them wrong. People are different, but they're still, judge people based on what they're about, their character. Not what they are, not the color of their skin. And you did that all the way through 12th grade. Racism will start to change.
I mean, education in general is missing the mark on so many.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
You throw education in inner cities, you have a whole different life. But the thing is, police stations get funding when crime goes up. Like, not station, but the police in different areas. They get funding, government funding, more government funding when crime is up. That's a fact.
I'm gonna say this though. Me and Kate were talking in the office, and I don't know how true this is. I look into it, but they're saying that they're getting rid of the Minneapolis police altogether. Like, they're just going to be gone. And I was
How
like,
can that happen?
I don't know. I didn't look into it because I had to go train somebody, but they said they get rid of the pretty much just like getting rid of Wilmington PD. But then again, Delaware is a little bit different because we're so small. But if you get rid of the Minneapolis, the police department, it's like, is the state going to take over or?
I don't know what that would solve
just
anyway.
so
That's
crazy.
I know, but they're defunding them essentially. But it goes
I don't know what that would solve either.
I have a question for you. When was the first time you realized or you experienced racism?
I was on a bike trip without my dad.
I said that last week.
And with the Boy
You gotta
Scouts.
watch it.
And everybody was and all my, I didn't have any other black Boy Scout friends, right? Because I grew up in, there was only 4 black families in my entire neighborhood growing up, right? It was all white. And so we're in Tennessee or Virginia, one of the two. We're driving Virginia, and we're riding bikes, and the whole thing was we started in Delaware and we were going to end in the bottom of Virginia. And they drive us back up. It was a Boy Scout trip. Well, I was stuck in the middle because I wasn't quite fast enough to be the fast group, but I was faster than the slow group. So I was kind of doing my own thing, and then these guys just start. I stopped. I asked them a question because I wasn't sure how far up my group was. And now, mind you, I'm only 10 or 11. And they started throwing rocks at me, call me N-word, and I'm just like, and I didn't quite understand it at the time. I just got scared and I took off. And I was looking back on it, I'm like, damn, what if I didn't, they could have hit me with a rock.
They hit you in the head.
They could have messed me up, and it's just like, damn, that, to do that to a little kid.
Yeah, because you think of your kid, right? When you're a parent, it's like just a whole, I think of my daughter 10 years old. You think of your kids at that age. It just what it does to your psyche, to your emotions, right? That's why I feel like this is such a different level than the way where it's like a bunch of broken people trying to fix a bunch of broken people. It's like it's an emotional thing.
It is.
And that's the scary thing to me is are we even are we dealing with the real? I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
But people got to be willing to let people express their feelings and get it wrong and then get it right and work through it.
It's like I always say, there's no right and wrong relationship. It's just the way you want to operate in them. But there has to be validation, and I think that's all you're looking for. Is you want to be heard. We want you to understand. We want you to realize, and we want you to validate what we're saying. And then the change we want is at the legislative level. We want legislation to change. If a cop does that to an unarmed black man, it needs to be a hate crime. No different than if 2 white guys go and just beat up a black guy for no reason and kill him, it's a hate crime. What's the difference? There's no difference, and especially if there's no probable cause for why he did it.
Right.
So that's what has to happen. You're not going to change racism. People like Chris, I have my own racist beliefs, and I don't let it modify the way I act with people or what's the word? It doesn't control the way I act, and I give people the benefit of the doubt. But the first instinct is because of conversation I've heard from my parents growing up and how white people treated them, that there's an initial resentment towards older white folks. But then after I talk to them for 2 seconds, that goes away. if they're decent people, because that's the past, and my interaction with them is what it is, right? But I mean, my mom at a very young age, they told her to go to the outhouse, and there was a full-grown horse that ran out after her, or donkey that ran out after her, chasing her. I mean, and she doesn't frown her nose, turn her nose up, or ever talk racism.
I was thinking about that older, the people now who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't know if I should say 60s is old, 70s, 80s, 90s. But I was thinking about that. I'm like, do they even get this? Do you know what I mean? That like the older white population. Do most of them even get this? You know what I mean? Will there be a change for them, or is it really? I mean, you see the young folks out there, the ones that are
I can't
demonstrating.
I can't imagine like if I'm a white person that grew up in the 50s, right? No, 60s. I'd be right. The 60s. And I see how much change has happened.
56s.
My mom grew up in the 60s.
I'm probably sitting there going like this, man, they've gotten enough. But
I know what you're saying. There's not racism anymore.
Yeah, like compared to what it used to be, shoot, they doing good.
They want too much.
Yeah, man, they can eat with us and everything now.
They can go to school.
I'm telling you, like my first wife, their mom looked at me straight up and said, "You'll never eat dinner at my dinner table." When she found out we got married. And then my current wife.
Your mother-in-law said that to you?
My ex-mother-in-law, right? My current father-in-law, my wife's father, looked at me and said, well, I can't find anything in the Bible that says interracial relationships are wrong.
So you're okay.
So I guess
good.
I have to accept it. And my wife is distraught right now. She's so upset over her brother because
he's
a bigot. And I'm like, you didn't know?
But see, that's my point with it is the filter through which people live, right? Like, especially if they're not, I don't know, like it was crazy for me. I didn't even understand what's the big deal having black friends and stuff like that until I got older and I was like in an all white school because I got a scholarship. And, I didn't even realize that because through my filter, that's how I was just living. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I grew up. That's just, I didn't have that experience. And it's crazy when you do see that. Like, when I started being around other people, it's like, where have you been living? You know what I mean? Like, where are you getting information? It's like so much easier to be racist when you do not put yourself in situations with other races and build relationships and do work and have, you know what I mean? Like,
I just told a story last night when I was at basic training. I was like one of 4 black people there, and one of them was half black, half white. And it was a Sunday, and it's kind of it was kind of a lax day, but it wasn't a lax day. So we were like folding our clothes and stuff. And the way we had the dorm set up was like we had 2 bays, and this was our bay, and you had like a wall right here, and you go around, and there's the other bay, and it's like an open top right here, and you can still hear between both bays, right? So we were folding clothes and whatnot.
Like what everybody's got my phone.
I knew you was flipping out too. But it's like we were in both bays and I'm folding clothes or whatever, and half black, half white dude on the other side, and this dude from Alabama. Like, see, that's funny too. I say Alabama, and everybody's like, "Where's the story going?"
Alabama, I know it's gonna be bad.
So and at face value in the time, I think we were there for like 6 or 7 weeks at this point. And at face value, I honestly don't think he was racist, but who knows what he says behind closed door or whatever. But we walked him out of there, and all you heard was throughout the entire base. He was just like, "We doing over here, boy?" And everybody was like, we stopped what we was doing. It's like, you don't say that. He honestly did not understand what he meant. Like, there was these 3 kids from Jersey with me, and it's like, you don't say that. That's racist as hell. And he's like,
those are dog whistle.
Yeah,
words, right?
exactly.
Right.
Here, and everybody was like, literally everybody stopped what they were doing because there was only a few people from like the southern part of the U.S. Everybody else was from northern and whatnot. At least in my flight, and everybody was just like. It was just like somebody was, what? No, and to be explained to him, he's like, I really don't understand. And
So that's a big thing too, because politics nowadays, people say things, but they say things where, say, non-whites, their ears perk up, like a dog whistle. You blow a whistle, the dog's like, what's going on? We're sensitive to those words because we know that there's a double meaning to them. You might be saying one thing, well, he just said this. Well, yeah, but that, like, boy. Like,
And you can feel the intention behind
Boy,
what
his
somebody
thick-
is saying,
His
too.
thick Alabama accent too. It just is like
that's what we were called back in
Yeah.
slavery days, and it's kind of just
it's crazy.
You're calling a boy? I'm a grown ass man. You call me?
I know, like my ex-wife, she would say that to my son all the time. Like, she'd
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I can't say
you know, tell a boy to come here, and I'm like, whoa. No, we don't do that shit.
Just sounds weird.
She couldn't understand.
She
She
didn't get
says,
it,
no,
yeah.
understand. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't. His name's Stevie. You know, if Fred. Don't call him boy. She's like, he's my son. I'm like, I just don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll give you a funny one. This is a one like I was raised primarily around white people,
Yeah, that's
So-
interesting.
right?
Same here.
Like I mean,
How about you, Rashaad?
all black.
right,
Mostly Italian.
I mean, when I tell you, I've told him the story. We went to a function one time. It was the Jabberwock function, I think that's what it's called. Jabberwock function. And that's a black organization.
Yeah, terrible.
I walked in, I was, ain't no white people here. We in the right place.
You were so comfortable.
I was super uncomfortable. And, but when I was in high school, there was very few black people in St. Mark's.
Oh, you went to St. Mark's from the Padua.
Okay, right? And very few black people in St. Mark's. And, you know, my senior year, I was the only black kid on the team on football, so that tells you something, right? And I remember my sophomore year, all the black kids were practicing in varsity, and I wasn't. And I remember the kid Derek, who was a freshman, like, man, you letting these white boys beat you? Like, he's like, you don't want black dude there on varsity. You can be on varsity, man. Be on varsity. He's like, you can't be the black dude that's not on varsity. And I didn't even recognize the colors. Didn't even recognize.
Crazy.
Didn't even resonate with me. And I never even really worried about color because, you know, we grew up. I was always had whatever I wanted. My dad did very well, so I didn't even understand racism. Didn't even have a clue other than that one event. But then that's one out of many, so you don't even recognize that, right? And you know, it didn't even dawn on me. Oh my God, we only got a corner of black people at the table until someone told me, because I was so used to being around white people that I didn't look at them any differently.
So what would you say to someone on the flip side, like a white person who might try to say that? Like, I don't even notice racism. Like, do you know what I mean?
I believe a lot of them don't.
That's
Of course they
what
But
I'm
I'll say
experience
this.
it.
Because-
Right.
But look at his situation
Yeah.
and the same person that's going to say that. In his situation, he may have not saw color, but did you treat anybody differently when you saw another?
Right, but I'm not talking about people who do.
Yeah, but it's like
For a long time, here's the sad part about it, because you identify with what you're most comfortable with. So I would feel more uncomfortable around black people.
But did you act racist toward him? Did you act a certain type of way
I mean, I was
negatively?
young. I was young, right? But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean,
It
but
depends how you define it.
You know, yeah. Like, I mean, I would. It wasn't until I started driving myself and spending more time in town that I realized, damn, I like, you know.
See, that's what I mean. It's like, it's easy to be racist and prejudiced against people that you don't have interactions with, because you can make up all kinds of stuff in your head,
Yep.
or you can believe what other people
Yep.
say to you. Like, you know, how many of us have a lot of good Asian friends or so, you know what I mean? Some people do, but other people don't. Like where I live
Like the
now,
Asians.
there's a lot of Asians, but I never ever experienced
move where
growing
you
up
are.
around any Asians. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's like that's why I was like, I don't think I could have ever felt racist against any race, because I just literally, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know any different.
Yeah,
Like, you know, I had my Aunt Patty, who's my mom's black best friend, you know, and then, you know, we were Puerto Rican. My mom had a white husband and she had a black boyfriend. I mean, it was just like,
And it goes back all to what you said earlier, empathy. So it doesn't matter
Yes.
where you grew up, who you found, and you might feel uncomfortable. Like you said, you felt comfortable initially, then start hanging out in town,
Right.
And then to completely change mindset. So it's all about open mindset and empathy.
yes.
So
Yeah.
if you're closed minded and you don't want to feel for other people,
That's
then that's
it.
when you fall into racism and
It's
hatred.
that's
and
true.
bigotry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open-minded,
It's
right.
like more of like a and that's what I mean by, yeah, we can, and we have to. Absolutely. That's why it's important what people are doing right now. But we have to change it in our government and in the way laws are and all of that. But it's like, how do we change? And I feel like it has to start from the youngest level, like you were saying in school. How do we change so that people's hearts don't get hardened? You know what I mean? Because kids are not born like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just think of like at the youngest level, if we've got these empathetic, loving people teaching our kids. But you know, you've got if you're a racist family, then you're raising racist kids, and then that's out into the system.
I mean, I see it on the other end too. Like, I think, you know, whether you're white, black, or any other race, you can't be so egotistical that you think the way you think is the way it should be.
Right. Or that you're seeing everything.
Yeah,
that's
like,
why I try to be.
Because like I posted something, and I had a black person tell me it wasn't black enough.
I know.
And I'm like, are you crazy?
It's crazy.
How you gonna tell me how to be black?
Right.
Like, my experiences ain't your experiences. How you gonna tell me how to be black? You know, and the thing is, like, I'm looking at this person going, you ain't even been through nothing.
Exactly.
You reading stuff.
You live in the suburbs.
I've been there.
Oh, the trolls on
know?
social media don't get me started.
I've been to third world countries and performed, you know. Like, you haven't been nowhere.
Yeah.
You sitting in your comfort of
That's
Newark, Delaware, talking
That's
about I'm militant and I'm hard.
Right.
Now, like, the thing is, like, you ain't been through nothing. So how you gonna tell me how I should react?
You've had experiences with
like everyone's has their own situations. Everyone has the way they're gonna react to it. Don't condemn me. And so that's not a racist person against I mean, in a certain way, that's like black, you know, she's looking at me telling me I'm not black enough, and then looking at white people saying y'all don't understand us. You don't even understand us.
Exactly.
You understand your point of view. That's it.
If somebody's not following you, they're wrong.
Yeah, like, you know, so, you know, miss me with all that. Because the minute you think your way is the only way, you done missed the whole
And then we
situation.
all have to remember that, because that is so humbling, and I think that's where the empathy starts. If we can all just say, okay, I'm having my experience, I'm seeing through my filter, and sometimes, you know what I mean? I don't know maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now, or, you know.
But I mean, like, I
don't know it all.
We may agree on 20 things, but that 21st thing we don't agree on, does that mean the relationship can't be what it is?
Exactly.
Either you come to a mindset of, okay, I understand, or agree to disagree and move on to 22.
That's it.
It's like seeking to understand, right? It's everybody wants to get their point out, and it's like they want to drill it in. And I know I've been that kind of person. But it's like the shift, I think, is if we can all seek to understand, right? So like if everybody who's like, oh, everybody's rioting and they're taking if they can just step back and say, well, let me try to understand. Right? It's just like be curious enough, inquisitive enough, and humble enough to just say you don't know it all.
Right.
None of us do.
No, nobody.
And then somebody will explain it to you.
Right.
But somebody knows something you don't know.
I have a question. You kind of already said it. But I don't know if you have any mixed races in your family. I'm just curious if you've ever experienced racism from a family member.
Family member?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
Well, going into
kind of, but not
marriage, yeah. Father felt a certain way, grew up a certain way, was raised with a certain culture, and those were at ends with each other, and so he had a preconceived notion of who I was even before he met me.
This your father-in-law?
Ex-father-in-law.
Ex-father-in-law.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So and then,
like
once we met, you know, we're cool. And then once he had a granddaughter, it was even cooler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then
so he came around.
He came around. Yeah, because you have a preconceived notion of what that person is, or what they look like, or you know, does his pants hang off his ass, or you know, who am I? Who, you know, I see what I see on TV, or I see these videos.
I was going to say a lot of that is so historical in the limited way that people of color were portrayed on TV and on news.
I got one better. It wasn't even a white person. So my ex, she's Puerto Rican, Dominican, Sicilian, Peruvian, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, all that. She's all that. And I didn't experience racism specifically myself, but I saw how that mindset of that person was, and specifically her family. So me, her brothers were all hanging out one day, and I don't even know how we got one day.
Get that on camera, because that's That's the way we walk when you first get up. That's my morning walk.
I don't remember how we got on the subject, but we were talking about my ex's ex at the time, who's also black, and their cousin. I think she had graduation or something where it was some family event that they didn't really feel like going to, and they were hanging out with her ex. It was my ex, her ex, and their brothers hanging out and doing whatever. And the cousin had the nerve to say to my ex, "Oh, so instead of coming to my graduation, you're just gonna hang out with that monkey instead." I was like, "What?" And it didn't have to do with me, but as soon as I heard that, it was just like, that's all I see when I see you. Like, I already kind of didn't like you to begin with, but now I really don't like you, and I don't associate myself with you anymore. Granted, I'm like the godson of her brothers, so I'm kind of still a part of the family.
You start to wonder what people are saying when you're not around.
Well, I know what I know what they've said, because they say it to my face. Yeah, I say stuff to them because we're saying it at face value, but that specific person, if I see them at any family function, because like I said, I'm still a part of the family because of my godson, it's just like, keep my distance, and I'm just gonna not talk to you. I'm gonna smile and nod, but I have no reason to talk to you about that. And she's Puerto Rican and Dominican, so I was just like,
there's racism,
and it just blows my mind though. Because
in my culture, you go to Puerto Rico, you'll see people as, like, my mom was white, 100% Puerto Rican, white skin, because my grandma was white skin. My grandfather, at least your color or darker. That's how it is in the Latin culture. You run the, because think about it, you have
like that in the
mix
black
of
culture.
slaves, all of that, right? In the culture, when you go back historically. So you get that, and it's like that in the black culture too. Because I know I got my girlfriends who've told me all about that. The same thing with light skin versus dark skin.
My grandmother hated when I went down to my dad's side of the family because they let me play outside all day. My grandmother is probably light. She was lighter than you.
She know why you get a tan.
And she come back, she's saying,
"You black.
Come back here, black as hell. What's wrong with you? See, you gonna get cancer. You black." And I was like, "What? I'm just playing outside on the kid." And she hated it.
Did you ever see the movie School Days?
Yeah.
School Days. You ever see the movie School Days? Spike Lee?
Yes.
That made me go to Cheney State.
Really?
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, man, all those black people would be fun, And then it was the light skin, dark skin thing in the movie. And damn if it wasn't. But I enjoyed it. It was because I immersed myself in it, and it wasn't real. You ever remember that TV show, The Real World?
Real World.
Yeah.
That guy on there, the first season, Kevin, whatever, came and talked to us at Salisbury State University. Because the first season, he was the only African American on there, I think.
I don't remember.
You talking about Real World?
Yeah.
No, it was all black.
You're talking about a different world.
No, we're talking about a sitcom.
Yeah. Because I didn't watch that. Sorry. Because it was a different world.
Oh, man.
I loved it. It was fun.
That was one of my favorite shows.
I was like, I thought you were talking about a different world. But I was like, I'm letting go.
Because there was a black guy. Was there a black guy on?
Like on Real World, yeah.
I don't remember.
See?
I remember that show.
I really don't. That's a long time
Google
ago.
it. But on that note, I'm missing my haircut. So
we hit everything.
this was awesome. This was an amazing talk. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, share it. We appreciate you. Peace.
Peace. I love it.